little bit windy today, and I've already done a little bit today. I say that in every video. I always record after I do something, of course. Do stuff that's sort of interesting and then don't record it. So what we did today is we replaced the steering column. Well, we were going to. So this steering column, if you remember before, didn't have this, which is the ignition tumbler. So now we have the key from the old car, the white one, because we're going to make all the locks the same. And it's in here working. Now, I figured out something working on this. So this steering column is actually a different size from the other one. I would think they were the exact same, but I guess the 92 plus chassis have a lot more different, have many more differences than I expected. So here is the steering column out of the 91. So this was actually shorter, and so it bolts here and here, and with it in here on its loosest settings, it was still only right here. So what these have on them to make sure that they are still secure, see this wedge, this is the steering lock there. Security measure that they take so people can't just, you know, undo the ignition barrel very easily, is they actually have breakaway bolts. So if you look there, there is no head on them, and I had to chisel them off in the off position, or off rotation, to get them to come loose. It worked very well. They aren't too tight because they aren't a structural thing, but I didn't have any extra bolts to put back in there, so I just reused the breakaway bolts. So that's one thing I did. I also pulled the rest of the wiring harness out of this car, which is super simple, a lot less stuff in this harness compared to the other one. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be finishing up putting the last bolt in for the steering column. I'm going to be ripping out the engine harness, which you can see there, and I'm going to be laying the body harness for the GTI, which we have right here. I'm going to take the RCAs out of it because I think these ones are junk, run new ones later. So I'll lay this one in, get all prepped, try and get everything plugged together that I can. Anibis. So that harness was very easy to lay out. I don't have any tape, so I can't just tape it down right now where it's supposed to be. So as you can see, the taillight clips are different, so we're gonna have to do something with that and basically change out all the plugs that we need to when we go to do the interior swap here. So you got your seat belt and other connectors. I can't remember what each one's for. This one's for the e-brake switch, and I think one's for passenger side, so it can just go over this way to the passenger side, the longest one. But I don't think the seats I have were set up for anything fancy like that, so they're kind of just taped out of the way. We got the fuel pump wiring with the door alert switches. This one's actually missing a grommet. And there's actually a speaker wire here, so that just goes in there because you can get panels here that bolt somewhere in this area and you can mount a speaker. I do have those. I have 2 sets, and we're gonna start putting the forward harness in here. And with the forward harness, that's the one that goes outsides the vehicle, so that's what's next on the list, and then we'll be able to plug the body harness into it. Alright, so I ran a lot of the wire. Probably going to delete this. This is for the fan because one of the switches stopped working, so I just hardwired it on the old car. It's on the side of the road. So we got front harness put in, so horn, lights, fan, the junction box. This will be going to the engine. I wonder why there's a broken wire off in there. Got some of the car alarm stuff, the ignition coil with I can't remember what that piece is called. This is the high idle control for the command start. Probably going to run a charcoal chamber on this one. This still needs to come off, and need to find the GT. And then got window wipers, some more headlight stuff. Ground's done. Have both sides ran. Started with the harder side. That's why it took me so long to do this one. Have to find some new clips for up here. Got one here, but the clips are broken off. But anyway, you get the idea. This is for the washer container, which I will be putting in when I pull the front bumper off. It'll be a little bit easier. And a lot of bending over. So what we got going on in here, anything that you see that's cut is for the command start, but we got our body harness, and we have our dash harness, which is all this here, and the forward harness, which also goes to the outside of the cars up there and ran here. I still have to put the fuse block in here, but it's going to be a lot easier to just make sure that all the wires are good and check them over before we put that in. Then we will put that in. The engine harness, which is I think still in the engine, we'll plug that in before putting the dash in. So to get that all done, that'll be good to go. So right now, if I put the other fuse block in, and I made sure all the necessary wires weren't cut or broken, and we had an engine with a harness in here, it should fire. So right now this is what an electrified car looks like, or Swift anyway. This is all the wiring to run your vehicle. Like I said, still have to change some other stuff. On the other car we have electric door locks and electric hatch release, and we still have to put that in, so I have to go into the doors of that car, pull the panels off, and take all the linkages and stuff and all the actuators out and shove them into these doors and the hatch. And yeah, so still some stuff to go, but we're at the point where we're still waiting for the gauge cluster, and we're going to wire up the gauge cluster, which these are the gauge cluster wires here. So we're going to have to try and match them to the new cluster. And yeah, so it's the point I got today. After I get all this done up, I can secure the fenders back on and stuff like that. Here's all, some of it is still necessary, like the signal lights and the bottle, but this is all the unnecessary parts that won't transfer over. I mean, like, we can use these fuse blocks here for the aftermarket stuff if we really want to, because they bolt in place. But this is the injector resistor for the single injector on the TBI, and then just the plug for this here. So we can still use it if we want to, but with the way this car is now, we don't need it. Like the old map sensor, I don't even think there's a map sensor for the GTI. This is for the GTI though. So this would plug in and go right here. I don't know if it works with the 93 dash, but I'm gonna try. Move this out of the way. So that goes there, and your signals and your horn and stuff. There should be this here, and this is the ignition switch, and this part here is the trigger. When you put your key in, it pushes this button in, and that's what triggers the beeping when your car is when the key's in, the door's open. How does this go in again? I think it goes up. Tangled wires. All these connectors just get stuck together. With this in and clicked into place, you got your ignition. So that plugs into the fuse panel. This also plugs into the fuse panel, and some more stuff and things. Getting close electrically. Still have to finish the engine, do the interior, all that fun stuff. So it's another step ahead. Yeah, another step ahead. That makes me happy. I'm happy about this. I'm happy there's wiring in the car. This is the next step to having a complete engine swap and everything in these cars. And I was pulling some stuff off of this car as we were going off the firewall. I still have to switch out the throttle cable out, and just a few things that still need to be swapped over. I'm excited for what's to come.